Good morning, sunshine. Welcome back to Tiger's Occult Books and Research. I'm your friendly internet paranormal researcher and investigator, Dr. Morris, and today's entity is the Karisi, also known as the Basti with a Y, or Basti with an I, or even in some Russian mythology as Kardai. But it's all basically the same entity. Frankly, yes, it's similar to the owl that we previously covered. The link's up in the corner if you'd like to take a gander. Not exactly a friendly sort of entity. Anyway, while it is similar to the owl, it's still different enough to warrant its own entry. So again, referring to our three main reference texts, Illy's Encyclopedia of Spirits, Bain's Encyclopedia of Spirits and Ghosts in World Mythology, and Guiley's Encyclopedia of Ghosts and Spirits, and a smattering of further research, I'm going to tell you where it comes from, how to identify it, what it does, we'll address any ethical concerns, and then we'll make sure we go over safe interaction with the entity if you should ever come across one of these things during your travels. So let's get into the origins here. According to Goddesses in World Mythology by Martha Ann and Dorothy Myers Imel, this entity actually traces its roots all the way back to Sumerian mythology, with Basti being one of the names given to Lilith. As you probably know, some Jewish mysticism and interpretations consider Lilith to be the first wife of Adam, the first man created directly by God, although this view is rejected by most Christian interpretations. Frankly, my opinion on the matter is rather meaningless. I'm just here to report what I've read through as objective a perspective as I can manage in an easily digestible format, so that it's somewhat useful to others. Anyway, Turkic folklore also contains references to Basti, likening it almost to a succubus, which is a seductive female dream demon, or even a mare, which is it's an entity that basically sits on people's chests as they sleep, causing nightmares. The big difference, though, between Basti and succubi or mare myths is that Basti is not a sexual spirit at all. Rather, she targets people with guilty consciences, or as C. Scott Littleton phrases it in Gods, Goddesses, and Mythology, those who come from families that have committed bloody crimes that have gone unpunished. Which actually brings us into the physical identification methods. This one is tough to pin down. First and foremost, Basti are known shapeshifters, so that's going to throw us off. We believe the natural form to be that of a large, terrifying woman dressed in red, although it's somewhat vague. Alternately, and most concerningly, Basti can take the form of people familiar to the intended victim, usually a friend, family member, someone close, in order to breach security and gain access to places that she would usually be denied. Lastly, it's not unknown for Basti to take the form of a bird, a cat, a dog, or a fox. Its method of attack isn't openly violent, it's much more stealthy. So we're not looking for brutal dismemberings and disembowelings. It's usually far more subtle than that. More like sudden unexplained deaths, similar to SIDS, that is, sudden infant death syndrome. Alternately, it's known to affect a slow wasting illness, like the symptoms of cancer or tuberculosis, just without the tumors or other readily apparent issues. Lastly, just about every information source I've seen refers to it as a demon. There's no folklore regarding its supposed life as a human, so I'm inclined to believe it was never truly human. Therefore, we've got ourselves a Class 5 corporeal shapeshifter. So let's go ahead and we'll touch on the folklore, tales, and legends. As we know, in ancient Sumerian folklore, Basti is just a pseudonym for Lilith, the first wife of Adam, the first man. There's, of course, a lot of negativity ascribed to her behavior, explaining why she was thrown out of the Garden of Eden in short order. As we move on into the Turkic folklore, there's some rather interesting stories told. The least disturbing story that I've told so far comes from Dr. Ozan Ozturk's work, Karaden's Encyclopedic Sazluk, or the Black Sea Encyclopedic Dictionary. He says she is also known to steal horses who are found sweating and exhausted in the morning and unable to provide a full day's work. I mean, okay, that's a bit odd and eccentric, but whatever. However, other folklore indicates that Basti will also deliberately target sleeping victims with a special emphasis on new mothers and newborns. Basti is known to haunt postpartum women, with the best case scenario being a profound case of postpartum depression. Worst case scenario results in either a long, chronic, incurable wasting disease or sudden, unexplained death. Which that leads us to our ethical considerations. Like we covered with the similar owls of Armenia, this is a fairly evil entity. It's particularly distasteful for its targets. I don't see any harm in destroying this entity at all. So that brings us to our safe interaction methods. Like the owl, there's no safe way to interact with this entity. You need to be aware that Basti apparently has hypnotic or paralytic powers. Victims find themselves unable to speak, move, or scream. Many sources indicate that avoidance is the best bet, but there are ways to fight back. Avoid eye contact. That's apparently how she initiates her hypnosis. Ideally, the main objective is avoidance, protective amulets, sacred texts, prayers, incense. The presence of vigilant human guards will generally force this ordinarily timid spirit to keep its distance. However, if that doesn't work and it slips through, like most vampiric entity, this one is reported to be vulnerable to a wooden stake through the heart. You know what? I know we keep the stakes in the garage bay upstairs. I ought to bring some of them down sometime. Anyway, alternately, a silver needle through the heart is also said to stop Basti. From there, it's unclear what happens. Information is incomplete. Based off its vulnerability to a wooden stake to the heart, I would suggest other traditional methods of vampire disposal. Decapitate it, remove the hands and feet, put it face down in a hole, burn it, and bury what's left. Now, vampires are a whole different rabbit hole we can go down, but look, I get off work in a couple minutes, so I'm certainly not jumping down there today. Anyway, that's about all the information I was able to dig up about Basti, Karisi, Kardai, whatever you want to call it. I hope you found it informative. As always, like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. You can find me on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey. If you have a specific entity that you need me to cover, let me know in the comments section down below. I'd like to wish you all a happy Friday. I hope everyone enjoys their weekends, but don't do anything I wouldn't do. Well, that's a short list. Don't do most of the things I would do. It doesn't matter. Just be careful. Use better judgment than me. Till next time, fellas, I'll see you down here at the lab.